Here's one for you. So, a quiz question I heard today. There's only been one England male cricketer, I should say, to ever play an Ashes Test match whose surname contains the letters that spell the word cricketer.
Oh.
It's got to be a Whittaker of some kind.
Nope.
They spell cricketer.
So you using the letters, they've got the letters cricketer are in their surname, and it's the only player on England and Australia who can do that.
The wheel's turning, but the hamster's dead. I can't.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a Sri Lankan, then yes, there's loads of initials in Ireland. So you probably can
Chaminda
spell
Vars,
cricketer.
WPUJC Vars, 5 first names. Yeah. Great player, though.
Go on, because it'll do me heading all the way through the podcast. Who is it?
Marcus Trescothick.
Of course.
Of course it is.
The man with the biggest name and one of the strangest techniques I've ever seen in my life. Barely moved his legs, but his eye was just...
Couldn't half hit a ball.
Good banjo it, couldn't he?
Good. His bat always looked massive when he was batting as well. He had the big GM bat, didn't he? And
Well, he was one of the ones that started pushing the mongoose. Remember that?
I remember the mongoose, yeah.
But do you know, all these names that you're mentioning now, that's a period in my life that I completely divorced cricket. So
Did you?
from about 2000, or maybe even 99.
Should we not save this for the podcast?
Yeah, I'd save this for the podcast because my next question would have been, surely Suraj has got a mongoose in his 200 back collection at home.
Are we rolling?
Yeah.
This is Silly Point, an Inside Etown podcast.
Right, hello, welcome to another episode of Silly Point. Hosting as always, my name's Dan, and I'm joined this evening by Carl.
Hello.
Chris.
Hello.
And our special guest for the evening, Suraj.
Hello.
So, Suraj, welcome to the Earlestown Icebox. We're going to record one more episode before we all hibernate. I'm dreading drinking this drink. It's a delicious soft drink, which is going to be very, very cold.
It's gone frosty on the outside.
Where's it frosty on the outside? That tells you
The things we do for our YouTube viewers, Dan.
Yeah.
Things we do.
Yeah, brass monkeys weeping and all that. So, Suraj, welcome to the podcast. I know you've been watching. I think I'm going to start with an easy question for you because I'm a nice man. I'm a nice host. I think might not be very good, but I'm nice. How did your cricketing journey start? What was it that first got you into cricket?
Well, I'm from Sri Lanka and Kandy specifically, and there's been a few very well-known players from that region. And we love our cricket back home. So it's one of those things, you grow up with it anyway, so even if you don't play it, you watch it, you follow it quite religiously. It's like football here. You don't necessarily have to play to start loving it. So that's what got me interested initially. And then we had houses. I don't know whether that concept exists in schools in the UK, but we divided into houses in schools, and we have inter-house competitions. And I got a chance to play in one of those house matches, and I performed very well. And that, gave me the bug to start liking cricket. But there was a few unfortunate instances, and in the end I had to start. I gave it up as well for a long time. So yeah, that's how I started cricket and ended it quite quickly as well.
I've never heard that story before, so maybe come back to that a bit later on.
Sure.
Yeah. I think one of the questions that I would ask normally at this point is how did you get to Earlestown, but I think that might require a bit of a longer answer. So let's just go to the next question I would normally ask, which is the season that we've just had, did you set yourself any targets or goals, and if so, did you meet them?
I never actually set any individual targets as such. I always aim to perform better than I did the previous year. That's always been my target. I always compete against myself, never against anyone else. I'm not about looking at stats and anything like that. It's just that my bar of excellence is always, have I performed well for the team? Have I done something that made a difference to the team? Am I someone who contributes positively and is missed if I'm not there? So that's how I gauge myself. and that's I think I've done that to a great extent. I've performed and I've performed better than last year, so I suppose that is a positive.
Just for me, going back to the whole cricket in the start, when you started up in Sri Lanka and in Kandy, there's a lot of time when you hear these stories and you see people who've joined local leagues or they've started off in their own come over here, there's always a story of, well, I actually was brought up playing with this ex-professional or that, and then there's one of the guys I know over at Port Sunlight, and he played Zimbabwean first-class cricket with like Andy Flower and Henry Long and stuff like that. When you were, I know you said you stopped for a bit in Sri Lanka, but was there any kind of names around when you were playing that we would kind of know of that you played with, against?
I suppose you wouldn't know because, but he has played at a very high level. He was my schoolmate who's named Omar Mizran. And we used to always joke around saying that he's got Curtly Ambrose's action. And he ended up playing for the Singapore national side.
Nice.
So, yeah, I did play with someone, and he was an extremely talented player. Fast bowler, heavy hitter with the bat. And he genuinely, his action, even though he didn't model it with Curtly Ambrose, he used to stride in with that action. So yeah, there is, I suppose, that person.
I think the biggest question for me now is, especially Dan's comment about the icebox. Why would you leave Sri Lanka to come to this country with this weather? What brought you this way? Because it won't have been the weather. God, it won't have been the weather.
Studies, and then ultimately settling down here. And to be honest, I prefer the cold in that sense. I'm more of a English weather type of person, but I do enjoy the summer, no doubt, especially since there's cricket around. But yeah,
never heard anyone from the subcontinent come and say I preferred the English weather.
Were you playing cricket like within when you moved over here? Had you gone back in love with the game before you came over here, or was that brought back here?
I played one solitary match for my uni side, and even then it was there were a lot of factors. I probably answer the question more in detail when you talk about the gap I had. But I know I've only played one game. That was all the way back in 2002. Just one uni game, and that was it.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't even own gloves to hang them up, so I just gave it up.
We'll
Now
get
you've
on.
got enough
I was
now.
going to say,
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get onto your cricket equipment selection in due course.
Just to kind of return to the questions that I normally ask in the player profiles, I'll meet the players, should I say? Because Carl told me off.
Well,
You've done it now.
To be fair, you brought I didn't think this was going to be a meet the players, but you brought your questions. Maybe that's me mithering you to be
More
be consistent,
uniform.
uniform. But yeah,
Me and you have shared a dressing room plenty of times, Suraj, so you know that I'm one of the more superstitious players at the club. I was just wondering, do you have any kind of interesting superstitions or special preparations that you make for a match?
Absolutely none. In fact, I go the opposite way. I still remember scoring very heavily in one particular game, and the next week when I turned up with a different bat, everyone was shocked in the changing room. They were like, "Why have you changed your bat?" Because that scored you runs. I do that on purpose, just so I suppose it's a way of breaking the mold, but I have no such beliefs or superstitions. I make it a point to go the other way. Like if I start padding myself on wear my pads on my left first, next week I do it on the right, just so I break the mold. I don't want to get into the habit or be limited by those kind of superstitions. I understand people do have them, and it's nothing against that, but me personally, I don't believe in any of that. I don't believe in doing anything or following any of those practices. The only thing I suppose I do, and everyone here will start giggling when I mention it, I pick out my bats. There you go. It depends on the weather for the day, what type of match it is. I have quite a large selection of bats, so I pick out the bats that I have. Potentially English weather, potential of rain. I'd pick a bat for rain as well. And then a third bat for somebody in the team who wants one. So I'm always traveling with 3 bats. But that's not a superstition. That's just something I do.
Have you actually counted the number of bats you have?
I have.
Would you like to divulge the number?
Unfortunately, not. My wife might watch this.
Oh, come on. Ladies and gentlemen, for your benefit, Suraj's nickname is Batman.
Yes,
on
the
account
Batman.
of the number of bats that he has. Come on, you've got to give
Is
the
it
number away.
north of 50?
Just shy of.
Wow.
Just shy of 50.
just shy of 50
I
bats.
thought you were going to say 5.
Yeah, no,
Five
this
is
is
a ridiculous amount
no,
of
this
bats.
is
Wow. That's
It's
impressive.
more the tagline I usually go with is all the bats, none of the stats.
I like that.
oh.
I'm Dave Shearer, all-rounder around the West, and one of the groundsmen.
All right, Dave, welcome to Meet the Players. So, I know you've been at Earlestown for a while. What first got you into cricket?
I'd always been interested in it. I just didn't have the time to play it, to be honest, because I had that many hobbies. I used to play on a Friday night here with a gang that played for other teams just as their training, and I just come down on a Saturday one day to watch them, and next time again I'm training.
Well, that kind of like answers my next question, really, which is how did you end up at Earlestown? So it was just a case of that Friday game developing into... and when was that?
A good while ago now, maybe 20 years ago, 18 years ago. God rest his soul. Dave Melling was the guy that said turn up on a Saturday and have a watch and come down training and that, and that's whose bat he used now, so that's how old the bat is. He batted with it, now he's giving it me because mine was too light. So a bit of Slogger Shearer comes out every now and again.
Every now and again, it's the only shot you play, Dave. So obviously, you know, you're not like a regular player. You put your name down when you're available, but you're not always available. Did you kind of set yourself any personal goals for this season? If so, did you meet them?
No personal goals really. It's just see the season out without getting injured and getting on a bit now. So if we can do that, yeah. I've had good times playing the games that we had. Enjoyed the T20s a bit more than the red balls, but that's more my style of game. See it and hit it. So.
And this is a man, ladies and gentlemen, who wears a box when he's fielding, so the risk of injury is significantly decreased, I would suggest.
It's been needed.
Dave, we've played a lot of cricket together over the last 4 years, you and I. I was just wondering, what would you say your most memorable moment on the field as an Earlestown player so far is, or before that, if there's anything?
Probably this season, opening at Egbert with Reese. Probably the two least people you would have picked to open. I think we did alright. We put about 30 on the board before I got out first, and then Reese shortly after. But yeah, that was good. I don't think I'd want to open every week, you know. But yeah, it was good fun at Egbert. It was took in good.
You might want to open every week if you get some banquet bowling to start off with. So you've played quite a few games in your time, Dave. Do you have any kind of like mental and physical preparations for a game? Any rituals or superstitions?
No, not really. I get slated because I get my pads on, and I get my box on and my thigh pads and everything. I get them on early, and you know, I get fined 50p for pad rash all the time. Like, but I just like to be prepared. As long as I know I've got them and I've got them on, I'm fine. Because I'll end up going out with only one glove or something like that. If I don't check well, we've got everything, I'll do something silly like that. So yeah, just getting myself dressed and prepared for it.
I think you're at risk of more than 50p who went out batting with one glove, Dave. And final question from me. If you could have any cricketer, past or present, play for Earlestown for one match, who would that be and why?
I think Flintoff, because he'd be alright in the bar after. He'd be one of the lads, he'd fit in well here. A few of them like a drink, and he was just a good cricketer. You know, he was all round. He's a nice bloke. You see him on the telly and doing different things, and he just seems a nice bloke to talk to and get on with. So I think Freddie Flintoff.
Well, there's long been rumours that Freddie Flintoff kind of models his batting on Dave Shearer. So anyway, that's been another episode of Meet the Players. So thanks very much for your time, Dave.
Thank you. Cheers.
I think we need to get a board put outside. just sit down.
Yeah, or like on a prison wall where you mark off how many days you've been in.
Yeah.
Suraj has got that for how many bats he has. So I've got to ask, how did that start? How have you come to have 49 bats? I can understand what you mean about having a bat for Monday, a bat for Tuesday, a bat for Wednesday, etc., etc. And if it's going to be raining on a muddy pitch, you might pick out an old clogger that you don't want to use very much. But like, how does a man, like, number one, have the room, and number two, how do you come to own that many bats, Suraj? I've got to ask.
It's a long-winded answer, to be honest, and it's a bit of a tearjerker within inverted commas. The reason why is it probably goes back to the initial statement I made about having that pause or gap in playing cricket. The time, I think I might have been doing my GCSEs or just before, it was senior school anyway. And when I started showing interest in cricket, I attended a couple of sessions, practice sessions for the school team and stuff like that. And then the coach had spoken, the coach and my dad were very good friends, and he had said, your son's showing a lot of talent, let him play these matches, etc. And in that match, I had none of the equipment. And in Sri Lanka, it is a bit of an elite sport. It's the equipment is obviously very expensive. It's an elite sport. Our school was not known for its sporting prowess as such, so very few people invested in that. So you'd have to borrow kit and stuff like that. So my first match, I in fact scored a 50. So I did remarkably well, but it was all on borrowed gear. And my father was in the changes by there. And when I came back in, and we were swapping all the gear around, I remember handing the bat to the owner of the bat, and he insulted me. He said, if you don't have the equipment, don't play. And my dad overheard that. And I didn't realize at the time, we were all the same age, we were messing about. So I didn't take much of it. I just laughed it off and handed the gear in. But as we were going back home, my dad was very quiet. I thought he would be happy with my performance, but he just turned around and towards the end, just as we were about to get home, he said, son, I loved how you did today. I'm very, very proud of you, but it's not something that I can afford to give you. And I never want to see you put in a situation where you have to face people in that manner. So let's not do this. Let's focus on something else. And that really, really hit home. And that was the day I gave up cricket. I'd watch it, obviously, because that's a culture in Sri Lanka. We love watching our cricket. So I stopped playing because I knew we couldn't afford it. My dad, it was too much pressure, for me to continue in that sport and do all of that things. So I started work, moved over here for studies. And even then, that bug never got me. And it took, I think 99 was the last time I played cricket. And one uni match while I was in uni, maybe about 2002. And then that was it. I'd watch occasional World Cup matches, the Ashes, I'd follow the Ashes, just because I loved the sport. But as far as playing, I thought that was the end. And then my friends somehow convinced me to play a match for a local, I suppose a local Sunday team. And I ended up playing, and it was the last game of the season. I ended up taking wickets and performing very well. So that club captain said, why don't you play for us the next year? So then I started investing in kit, buying all this stuff and things like that, and it is an addiction. It's people buy something for functionality. I buy it because I love it. It's like it's a collect. I'm a collector in that sense. So I started that about 9 years ago, and over time, whenever I see a nice stick that I like, if it's performing, whether it's used or whether it's brand new or used, it doesn't matter. If I like it and it's performing, I buy it. So that's how the collection has grown. So it's not for purpose. It's more a collector's thing.
I love that.
Yeah, that's really
fascinating.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, but it did impact my life in that sense, because I learned quite young, at a very young age, the impact of the different class systems.
Yeah.
The fact that this sport can be quite elitist. It's more readily available here in the UK, but now that's also trending upwards. It's once again becoming an elite sport where you can't afford the equipment. If the equipment's increasing every year by large margins. I'm not talking £5-10. In fact, today I was watching a video about a bat that last year cost 600 quid. This year it's costing 750, 800. So that's £200 jump. Not everyone will be comfortable paying that, and that comes down to junior cricket level as well. I mean, the junior cricket equipment is not cheap either. So you're pricing people out of the game, and that's quite sad to see. And I'm a victim of that. Because when I was young, I felt that impact. And if
It
people
really
are going to
stop
give
you-
up the sport,
Stop your youth.
yeah, it's terrible.
career,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
it really is, and that's
I
sad
think it's-
because
I
it's
spoke
profit.
to one of our suppliers. Was it today or yesterday? I think it was yesterday. And we talked about obviously our neighbours Newton, who our relationship is, gets closer, and now we're a Liverpool comp, fully fledged team now. It will probably get even closer, and there has been talks around us maybe having some sort of loan system, and because they've got obviously a vast junior section and some of them can't play, but we were actually on about funding, not just for the individual but for clubs, so cricket clubs like us. If you think of us, we're kind of like, it's probably a silly way of comparing, but Earlestown is probably like in your time the class situation there where things are unaffordable and hinder progress and participation. It's like that for us in many ways. We don't currently have an outfield cutter. We can't fund a roller. The roller gearbox is in Essex somewhere, hoping that some old boy 70 odd can repair it for us because he knows how it works because it's that old. And we can't get funding. Now, across the road, Newton, don't know when you last went to Newton Sports, but it's brilliant, and they put loads of events on. The money behind the bar is brilliant. They've got a restaurant. I know they've got rugby, football and other sports, but they are more likely to get funding support than we are.
Yeah.
And what we was talking to with the supplier was, if you were on a panel of giving £10,000 away for to improve a club, how could you justify it not coming here? And that's not me having not a bitterness towards Newton. It's not. It's just, it's a fact.
Yeah.
We don't get £10,000 to us would be, direction changing. To Newton, it's just another scoreboard. It's another update in the patio area or wherever. And that class situation and the funding and pricing people out of cricket, it's not just the individual.
Yeah.
It's clubs.
Clubs are shutting down.
And how
because-
clubs are struggling. I think you couldn't have gone to again, any Newton lads watch this. This is not me, certainly not having a go, but there's a lot of our lads. You mentioned you have 3 on a match day, take 3 bats. Depending on the weather, probably 2, and you've got one in case someone hasn't got one.
Yeah.
I feel like if some of our lads who've joined here with no kit went to Newton, they wouldn't get a game.
Yeah.
And that's not, they wouldn't be like shamed out of it. It just, we've not got any kit. Well, get some kit, come back to us on Tuesday, we train. Here it's like, the amount of times I've said to someone at net, because I don't do any netting, someone's turned up and there's a black bag in there, go and help yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the way that we work, because people can't. You can go to Sports Direct and get a bat for 50, 60 quid. It ain't gonna last very long, is it?
No, and that's what a lot of people say. Oh well, you can pick up a bat for 25 quid, go on eBay and stuff like that. But if you want to play seriously, it's not like all worn rugby boots or football boots. This is a key part of your kit, and you make one mistake, you're out.
Yeah.
You're back in the pavilion, hanging your head in shame and waiting another week to turn up to play again. So you do have to invest, and that's an undeniable truth. But it is quite sad, and I think people are starting to look at it in a objective manner. They're starting to invest in alternate forms of willow. There's laminate bats that are becoming cheaper as well. So they have understood that pricing people out of the game and then moaning about people not playing cricket, they go hand in hand. So the sooner they make that link, the better it will be, I think, for the sport overall that we love.
Bring back the aluminium bats they used in the days. And
Or the mongoose, half the wood. Half the wood.
How long was the gap then where you completely stopped playing cricket?
I only started playing, I'd say about nearly 20 odd years.
Wow.
Nearly 20 odd years, where I'd literally I'd watch the game. In fact, when T20 came around, till I started playing, I didn't understand the rules. I didn't realize what the limitations were. The 50-over game went through some rule changes. I wasn't aware of it because I hadn't watched. I missed the careers of greats like Graham Smith, A.B. de Villiers. Like, I can't even class them as greats because I missed
You never
their...
seen it.
Yeah, I've never seen them. Even Kumar Sangakkara, who was a local hero, back home in Kandy. Well, I say back home, but home's here now. But in Kandy, I missed his entire career. So there's a lot of players that I hadn't, watched or can appreciate now. I mean, a YouTube short doesn't quite give it, does it?
No.
I mean, you really can't gauge anything from that.
This episode of Silly Point is brought to you in association with St Helens Dart Shop Megastore.
180.
So just to come in there, because it's a perfect time to ask the question, who is your favourite ever player?
Oh, that's a very...
And if it's an Earlestown player, then say I'm more referring to international
Thomas.
cricket. Hey, that's it, wrapped up. Thank you very much. Go on, mate. No,
That's getting edited out.
Cheers, Chris. I was more referring to international or county perhaps, but
And this is probably an interesting question because it'll kind of just push how much you did miss out on cricket. Because I remember when I did my player profile, mine was like, I was talking about Wasim Akram and players like that, and I think we had a chat. I think when we did the combined, I know it was the Ashes chat, and who would you add to it? And I came up with Alex Stewart, and it was like, I suppose for you, who's your best ever? It's probably going to be someone relatively recent compared to us round the table.
Yeah, it is actually. I mean, I can't nail down just one person, but I can tell you people who... Well, the person I'm going to name first is someone I hated at the start of his career, and he gave people a lot of reason to hate him. But I then started appreciating him as a player who gives it his all. He leaves it out on the pitch, and walks away without leaving everything on the pitch rather than having anything to take back. It's Virat Kohli. And I hated him. I absolutely hated him at the start of his career. I didn't like his attitude. I misunderstood his attitude. It's just his natural competitiveness. And as time has gone on, I've come to appreciate the amount he gives to the game, and the fact that he's sacrificed a lot in his life purely because he wants to be the best at it. So yeah, I suppose he's someone I really, really admire. Along that line is also Ben Stokes, and it's only because the amount he's had to endure during that final when he was booted out, a game that was pretty much in our bags. You'd have bookies odds for winning that game, and then what happened to him, and the way he was crestfallen at the end, kneeling down and looking so upset. I thought a lot of people, 9 out of 10 players would have that would have been it. The board would have also given up on players like that. It's a really heartwarming story to see that the board backed him, and then a few years down the line, he's now become a storm, literally. He's really, really helped the side come up, won World Cups, some of them single-handedly, his performance.
Clutch player, isn't he?
Clutch player. And that for me is a really inspiring story. So yeah, those two I think stand out. Virat Kohli and Ben Stokes, what they've done. One more, because again, I can't not mention him. It's Joe Root.
Joe Root, because you've got 3 bats, you've got 3 favourite players as well.
Yeah, mainly batsman, and I'm a bowling all rounder. But yeah.
Was cricket? I know you're saying when you were in Sri Lanka and Kandy, cricket encompasses everything in countries like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. Was cricket a family thing as well for you, or was it just? Did you just kind of find it on your own? So it wasn't like you. I know in here a lot of people in this country like, I started playing with my dad, or I watched with my dad, or I had relatives and stuff like that. Was that a similar thing to you, or were you kind of similar to me, like when I did my meet the players? There was nothing family-wise. Liverpool's not the biggest. It is now, but back in the day, Liverpool wasn't the biggest hotbed for cricket, and none of my family were ever interested in watching it, so I just kind of found it on my own. Was that similar to you, or was there a family connection?
There was. My dad, he was, from my mother's side, no. There's absolutely no sporting icons there at all. They're content with watching it. But my dad, from my dad's family, no one either. But my dad particularly, he was quite sporty. He was very strong, naturally strong. And I still remember days when I was very small, might have been about 8, 9 or even younger. He used to go to his local, the greens where they used to play cricket, and I'd watch him play, and I'd be amazed because he was quite natural at the game. He was a spinner as well, and he was a heavy hitter of the ball, and I'd be like, because there's no connection. He'd be a normal dad, 9 to 5, come home type of dad, and all of a sudden you see him playing cricket, and then you're like, whoa, you've got that skill. he wasn't playing for any club or anything. It was just, a gang of lads getting together and playing cricket. But yeah, that was quite inspirational for me, just watching him and then being so out of character. He was his dad, and then all of a sudden now he's a cricketer. Yeah, so just watching that's a memory that's etched in my mind. So yeah, my dad, I suppose.
Was so just looking at the life and coming over here, was it Sri Lanka straight to Liverpool, or did you filter other places in the UK and then ended up in the northwest?
No,
or
straight to Liverpool. I haven't budged since.
Yes.
Liverpool is home in so many ways. The culture, the people, they've always been welcoming, and it's very similar to Kandy in many respects, because family life is valued, friendships are valued, loyalties are well respected. It's a sporting city as well, home to two of the biggest football clubs as well. And so everything felt normal and natural for me. So yeah, it's now I'm settled down here as well.
Now you're an E-Towner.
I'm in E-Town as well. Yeah. So yeah, Liverpool it is.
And again, perfect segue. I'll resist saying anything about Everton. Really will find it hard, but I will. And I think, have you got any helmet Spur?
You just did.
I know. Yeah, that one's for Harry. Have you got any helmet Spur? Because I think we're going to need this with this next question. And I think it's going to come at us from both people opposite. So
I didn't realise I was getting the grilling in this one, but go on, Dan.
You're not getting the grilling, but it's a similar story for you. How did you end up coming to Earlestown? Thank God that you did, but how did you end up here? And again, take guard, Carl, middle stump with this one, I think, because it wasn't the best experience that you had at your previous club.
And Etown, in fact, I'm actually netted with Etown a few years back as well. I turned up at one session. I've always had a very good relationship with Carl. I've always, you can't miss him. He's about 6'6". He's
sat on the floor.
So I played for different clubs. I remember facing him when I was playing for Commonwealth and then at Egbert. There were a couple of incidents where he earned my respect in that sense, because there were incidences where there was potential, arguments leading on to fights and things like that. And the way he controlled his team, which was Etown, the way he controlled and everybody listened to him, they loved to follow him, which is something that I admired. And that's something very important for me. The captain's role is, I think, the most pivotal role in a team for obvious reasons. It's not just the coin toss or deciding what the batting order is. It's also how you marshal your troops, and not many captains have that talent. So I saw that in Carl. And when I was at a point in my career where I was deciding whether I want to play cricket or just give it up and start watching it, or just giving it up on its own, I was here umpiring one day, and Carl just had a chat with me and said, "Yeah, just there by down there." And he just had a chat and said, "How's your cricket going?" And I was like, "I'm ready to just give up because I'm not comfortable where I am." And Carl said, "Just come down and have a net with us." And that was a really, really positive message. Then I spoke to my closest mates in that club, which was Chris and Phil, and we all pretty much agreed. And they had played as well a little bit, and they just said, "Look, the culture is brilliant here. Just come over." So when I netted, I felt completely at ease. Everyone was so welcoming. So it was a natural progression, and I've always admired this lad here, and I've seen him play. I've played against him in 2 different teams, so but the respect and the fact the way they behave. Even Merle used to be a first team player at the time, and I still remember him. Merle, Todd, yourself, Fletchy, the 4 big names. I remember them from so many years ago, and it was nice to come and then feel welcomed.
And just to kind of follow up on that, what were your frustrations at your previous club?
There were many.
Please remember this is a family podcast.
I think the one I remember us talking about at that time, if it's all right for me to say, is I think they'd suffered a similar fate to us in terms of they'd gone to one team.
Yeah.
At one point, I think.
Yeah.
And had like a squad of 15, 16, and I believe their way of doing it was a bit of a rotational situation. And I think at that time, you'd got 50, or you'd got some runs, at least a 50, and I think you'd got 3 or 4 wickets in the game, and then it was your turn the week after to be rotated and rested. And it's kind of, what's that all about?
Yeah,
I think that was one of the ones. That was certainly the thing that I remembered you saying in that day when I said, well, if it's not working out, come over here. But
yeah,
because I was thinking how as a captain, I was captain then. I know I haven't been your captain many times since you've come over with the retirement and stuff. But I was thinking, how is that even? In a selection meeting, who decides that the lad that got 80 and 3 wickets should miss out the week after? It just didn't make any sense to me. There must have been someone in that team that could have been rotated more than the person that.
Yeah, that's the crux of the matter. It's never easy when you got a club with just one team, and you got a squad of. You need a squad of more players than you have available for a team. So you can't just have a club of 11 players. You need more, to make up for sicknesses, absences, holidays, etc. So I understood that from that point of view. Speaking quite candidly, the reason why I don't object to rotation, and even if it meant I scored a century and the next week if it was my turn to be rotated out, I'm happy with that. I'd live with that any day, but it wasn't a policy that was fair on everyone, in the sense that some people played the whole season, others were rotated out, and that's where I objected. Right. So I brought it up, and it was pretty much stated that I value that person more than I value your, performance or whatever it was. And I was like, okay, if that's the case, if that's the way if you don't see the unfairness in that, then it's like I said, I look up to the captains. The captain for me is not just someone who dons the whites, decides the batting order and decides who bowls. For me, it's like a general who marshals his troops. You need to be able to perform in such a manner that people look up to you. And I also don't respect captains who, if they don't perform, the face drops. Everything else becomes twice as bad. A drop becomes twice as bad just because you're having a bad day. I don't respect people.